Biblia Satanae Editio Secunda Amplificata by LCFNS, Lucifer Nostra Salus. Preface. Biblia Satanae is a collection of godless and heretical religious writings, having different forms but characterized by a common message. Biblia Satanae, unlike the claims of divine inspiration of the Judeo-Christian Bible, is the word of man. It is not revealed or inspired by any deity. The godless Satanism that is a common feature of all its writings stems from a rejection of the concept of blind faith, consistent with its definition in the writings of the Nazarene sect, as the certainty of what is expected, the conviction of what is not seen, and the pursuit of knowledge that leads to satanic awakening or enlightenment. Biblia Satanae Editio Secunda Amplificata consists of 8 books: Genesis Secundum Serpentum, Dark Nevim, Antichristus, Ecclesia Luciferi, Angelus Satanae, Encyclica, Epistle to the Damned, Epistle to the Ungodly, Pseudo-Apocalypsis. Here is a brief introduction to these books. Genesis Secundum Serpentum. The title Genesis Secundum Serpentum can be translated as the beginning according to the serpent. The first book of the Hebrew Torah is called Bereshit, which means in the beginning in Hebrew. The word Torah itself originally means instruction or warning. The title Genesis Secundum Serpentum should therefore be read as a warning of the serpent of what may come if one gives credence to religious delusions at the beginning. Genesis Secundum Serpentum points first and foremost to the irrationality, insanity, and cruelty of primitive laws invented by superstitious people and whose origin was attributed to imaginary gods. It is a look at the old myths as if through the eye of the ancient serpent, who convinced the mythical first men that if they defied the illogical divine laws, they would gain forbidden knowledge. In the beginning there was blind faith, from which was born Yahwistic and more broadly theistic madness, a virus that infected human brains, that caused the man infected with it to choose irrationality and delusion over reason and knowledge. This virus was able to drive the followers of an invented God to torture and burn heretics and witches at the stake, because the smell of burnt flesh was pleasing to the Lord from the start. Slavery, genocide, intolerance, murdering dissenters, treating women like cattle, stoning homosexuals. These are all precepts of the law which, according to blindly believing fanatics, was supposed to come directly from the God Yahweh. Bereshit means in the beginning. In the beginning was faith, then came intolerance and violence. Dark Nevim. This book, as befits a prophetic book, is full of symbols, ambiguity, and is subject to exegesis on several levels. It is a historical book, a philosophical book, and, in its own way, an eschatological book in relation to mainly theistic religions. Dark Nevim was composed on the basis of ancient Yahwistic prophecies with the use of symbols and theses opposite to those used in the original text. The application of this method to ancient Hebrew prophecies demonstrated their surprising universality. This method made it possible to show, in the first layer, the historical struggle of the Christian church against dissenters, heretics, and unbelievers. Here, mainly Christian, although the history of Islamic intolerance is very similar. Then it contains a philosophical layer in which, often by means of symbols and figurations, theistic delusions are contrasted with a naturally godless Satanism. And finally, in its eschatological layer, it foretells, or warns, what may come upon those who use violence and intolerance to impose their religious beliefs. The book looks ahead here, but is based on the history of religious persecution that Christianity has perpetrated throughout its history, and the history of secular violence used against the Christian church in response. Let the history of the French Revolution from 1789 to 1799 serve as an example here. On an eschatological level, Dark Nevim predicts the times of the satanic cult of reason. Antichristus.